Why has the world suddenly gone completely nuts? Michael Snyder reports. Chaos is starting to erupt all over the planet. Martial law has just been declared in South Korea, of all places. Civil unrest is raging in the streets of Georgia, and civil war threatens to topple the Assad regime in Syria. It's almost as if someone decided to flip a switch, and now vast hordes of people are going completely nuts. Unfortunately, I think this is just the beginning because I'm convinced that civil unrest will be a major theme in 2025. On Tuesday, the entire world was shocked by footage of crazed protesters clashing with riot police just outside the National Assembly, the Parliament building in South Korea. Shocking images showing dozens of riot cops and armed police officers pushing back enraged riots outside the National Assembly shortly after President Moon's address was broadcast to the nation. Meanwhile, news cameras captured the moment helicopters descended from the evening skies and landed on top of the Parliament building before troops disembarked and began locking down the location. Other footage and pictures later showed heavily armed soldiers in tactical equipment stalking through the hallways of the Parliament building. Parliamentary aides were seen trying to push the soldiers back by spraying fire extinguishers. The president of South Korea, I said president before, yeah, he is a president. South Korea, Yoon, imposed martial law in a desperate attempt to quell the unrest, but he was forced to end it just after 6 hours because it was unconstitutional. Martial law was enacted in South Korea for just 6 hours, prompting widespread outrage after the president cited threats from North Korea. President Yoon Suk-yeol, we know that the last name is first in the Asian country, Yoon Suk-yeol, issued the order in a televised address vowing to eliminate anti-state forces as he suspended parliament, banning political gatherings, and ordered the end of long-running doctors' strike. Just hours after doing so, the National Assembly unanimously voted to lift martial law. President Yeol has since announced the martial law is over, with his cabinet officially ending it. Well, I'm sure that South Korea will see elections as soon as possible to remove this guy. Anyway, we've never seen anything quite like this in South Korea. Normally, South Koreans are so calm. Are North Korean operatives responsible for stirring up trouble? Could it be possible that the Chinese are behind the unrest? Hopefully, some answers will emerge in the days ahead. Meanwhile, violent protests continue to rage in the streets of Georgia, and as a result, dozens of people have been hospitalized. And tens of thousands of protesters hit the streets in the capital city of Tbilisi, Georgia, for the fourth night on Sunday after Kobakhidz's ruling party, known as the Dream Party, suspended the country's 15-year push to join the European Union last week. Any violation of the law will be met with full rigor of the law, Kobakhidze said during the weekend briefing. Neither will those politicians who hide in their offices and sacrifice members of their violent groups to severe punishment escape responsibility, he said. And just like we have seen in so many other Eastern nations, it appears that someone may be trying to instigate a color revolution in order to overthrow the Georgian government. In the Middle East, a resurgent civil war in Syria has taken center stage. After capturing Aleppo, Sunni radicals are now advancing in the city of Hama, rebel and government forces battling for control of Syria, with the fiercest fighting on Tuesday taking place around the city of Hama after years of little movement in the conflict. An Islamist rebel group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, on Tuesday announced the liberation of 3 towns north of the city and said their forces continue to advance. Government forces and the group claimed had suffered major successive collapse. The Syrian state news agency countered that the army was reinforcing defenses north of Hama in preparation for the start of a counterattack. Russian forces also announced airstrikes against rebels in Hama and Idlib provinces. Now, without Russian air support, the Syrian military would have likely already collapsed. Most Americans don't realize this, but the U.S. is still very active inside Syria as well. In fact, there are reports that Iranian-backed Shiite forces coming across the border from Iraq were just attacked by A-10 Warthog aircraft. However, according to the claim on social media, these Iran-backed troops have already been struck by U.S. on December 1st and 2nd. Now, hopefully, US aircraft and Russian aircraft will not come into direct conflict with one another. The Russians would like to offer the Assad regime more support, but they certainly have their hands full in Ukraine right now. Unfortunately for Ukrainians, their ill-fated Kursk offensive has made them vulnerable on the Eastern Front, and the Russians are taking full advantage of that opportunity. Now, the situation looks particularly precarious for Ukrainian forces in Donetsk and Ukraine's east, where Russian forces are closing in on their last two strongholds in the southern part of the region, according to the analysis by the group Deep State. The fall of the strongholds Kurakove and Velika Novosilka could pave the way for a Russian takeover of the area, experts say. Russia, which annexed Donetsk in 2022 and controls about two-thirds of the region, is seeking to consolidate power over the whole territory. For now, North America is much quieter than the rest of the world, but it could be just a matter of time before tremendous chaos erupts in our streets as well. The left is targeting Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th as a time for massive protests. And as economic conditions in Europe continue to deteriorate, I expect a lot of unrest in the streets of major European cities in the days ahead. 2024 was certainly a very interesting year, but I believe that we're going to go to a whole new level in 2025. And this is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. About the author, Michael Snyder's new book, Why, is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecy of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the most important news, and he always freely, happily allows others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.